Life as a champion, you feel unbeatable. You feel invincible. You feel dangerous. But one fateful night, you lose your belt to your opponent, and what do you think? I'll just get it back, right? I'll have a bounce back fight. I'll have a title rematch. But little do you know, that's the start of your downfall because you lose that title rematch. You lose that bounce back fight, and then you lose another one. You lose another one. Your 25-2 record becomes 25-7, and now you're wondering, what am I doing with my life? Is mixed martial arts for me? Should I still be able to fight? Is my career in jeopardy? This is what happens to every single great fighter. We saw it with Israel Adesanya, who's on his massive losing streak. We saw it with Kamaru Usman when he lost to Leon Edwards with a Hail Mary head kick. We never thought Kamaru Usman was going to lose. He loses to Leon Edwards. He'll just get his belt back. Loses the rematch. Then loses to Khamzat. The downfall begins somewhere, and I'm going to go over my 10 current champions or former champions that are still active today that I believe will have similar downfalls in their career as these champions right here in this slide. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. It's a very sad video, but it's fun as well because I'm going to be predicting these fights for you guys, giving you who I believe they'll be losing to on their scheduled opponents. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Like and subscribe. I'll give you guys an example. Brandon Royval, 34 years old. Right now he's in his prime. He's probably entering the washed phase pretty soon, though. He just beat Loner Kavanaugh, finished him in the third round. What are his weaknesses right now today in his prime? His durability, the lack of power, the submission defense, striking defense, right? What is his weaknesses when he's washed, when he gets older? We never thought that Chuck Liddell, his chin will go from granite to glass. We never thought it. We never thought Conor McGregor would ever get knocked out in a striking exchange in MMA. Things happen when you get older. Your father time is undefeated. This is what happens. I think Brandon Royval have a glass chin, right? His durability is already in question. He's a pillow puncher. He already lacks power, zero submission defense and zero striking defense, and these are his future opponents. So these are the stuff that I'm going to be doing for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'll go in depth on their future opponents. Like and subscribe. Let's get it going. Number 10, Ilia Topuria. He's 29 years old right now. His downfall will happen because he stays at lightweight. This will be exempted if he goes back down to featherweight, which he's clearly the best fighter in the world in. He's one of the most skilled fighters we've ever seen in our lives. But he's at the wrong weight class. He's too small for 155, which is the reason why that's one of his weaknesses. His endurance at 155 will be in question as well. I know he went 5 rounds with Josh Emmett, but this is not 145. These guys are much bigger. The grapplers and wrestlers should be able to give him trouble. I know Charles Oliveira tried to take him down with a body lock, and Ilia Topuria reversed it and even got into crucifix against him. But Ilia Topuria, with the rounds going on, starts doubting himself. Guys get a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. The endurance starts happening, gets taken down. Can he get back up? We don't know that. What are his weaknesses when he's washed? I believe Ilia Topuria's downfall will happen a lot quicker at 155 because he's the much smaller fighter. And he's a fast twitch fighter that relies on speed. Once the speed goes, we saw it with Conor McGregor. We saw it with Mike Tyson, who was champion at 23 years old as a heavyweight. It's hard to win fights when your quick twitch muscles aren't quick twitching anymore. So his durability will be a huge factor, right? Justin Gaethje mauled him round 3 and 4 in the White House card. We saw Jai Herbert hurt him at lightweight. His durability at lightweight is definitely in question. First round merchant, I believe when he gets older, he's like, all right, I'm going to try to finish this guy in the first round. If I can't finish in the first round, this guy looks huge standing across from me. I don't know what to do anymore. I think his best, the same way we look at Conor McGregor, that we think, oh, it's the first round or bust for him. I think that's what we're going to look at Ilia Topuria. Then held down an entire round. I could see wrestlers really holding him down. And then the kicking range, I believe that these taller fighters, these taller lightweights will cause issue to Ilia Topuria because they're much taller, can keep him at bay with a kick, with the jab. Ilia Topuria will not be willing to go in the pocket as much as he is now because he's going to respect the power, right? The same way he respected Justin Gaethje's power afterwards. The same way that we see him give no respect to Charles Oliveira's power. I think because of him getting hurt, getting knocked down. I think that Ilia Topuria should be able to now respect the power and be not in pocket range as much as he wants to be, and that'll cause huge detriment to his career. Future opponents. I believe he fights Benoit Saint Denis next. That makes a lot of sense to me. Benoit Saint Denis and Ilia Topuria, both off losses. Paddy Pimblett just beat Benoit Saint Denis, top 6 still in the UFC. Have him fight Ilia Topuria, Benoit Saint Denis. Makes a lot of sense. have him fight in the summer. Then he'll be able to challenge for the belt versus Arman Tsarukyan, who should be able to beat Justin Gaethje, which I believe will be the next scheduled lightweight championship fight. Arman Tsarukyan should be able to beat Ilia Topuria with the wrestling, with the grappling, with the cardio. And I don't think Ilia Topuria has much answers for him if it's not in boxing range. And then I believe we do Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for a BMF belt, because Ilia is a BMF. I mean, this guy went from 145 to 155. Charles Oliveira, this fight makes a lot of sense for him. I know what you're going to say. You just said the grappler, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. Charles Oliveira, though, 2 years older, probably 39 years old at the time, 38 years old at the time. Charles Oliveira likes to be in the pocket, but be chest on chest, Muay Thai style. Ilia Topuria has very, very fast hands. Charles Oliveira's durability has always been in question. Let's take Ilia Topuria to beat him and become the BMF champion. Then, after having that BMF championship, he's going to fight Arman Tsarukyan again in a rematch, because he is the biggest star at lightweight. So it makes sense to give him a rematch after a big win. Then after he loses to Arman Tsarukyan again, because too big, too much wrestling, he's going to fight Paddy Pimblett and defend the belt, which he'll beat Paddy Pimblett. This fight might be 2 years too late, but I can't see them doing this fight right now with no belt on the line. Maybe if Justin Gaethje retires or there's an interim belt on the line, you do Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett. But because there's not, and Justin Gaethje's still active, and I think he's going to fight Arman Tsarukyan, you can't have this fight happen. So Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria for the BMF belt in summer 2029 makes the most sense. International Fight Week. Then you have him defend his belt to a guy that's going to come up, Diego Lopez, winter 2030, which means January 2030. And I think he'll lose versus Diego Lopez. I don't think that's a good matchup for him, because Diego Lopez, I mean, if you use footwork, like if Max Holloway uses footwork, like Volkanovski uses footwork on a guy like Diego Lopez, you'll win. But if you like to be in the pocket and exchange with him, we saw what Diego Lopez do to people, right? To Sadiq Youssef, to Pat Sabatini, to Steve Garcia. You can't have that happen. Ilia Topuria likes to be in the pocket too much. He'll get clipped for sure. Then Usman Nurmagomedov and him fight each other in 2030. The PFL champion, who's going to go over to the UFC, fight Ilia Topuria in a big, big fight. I think that fight makes a lot of sense. Afterwards, then he'll be on. It's not really a downfall for Ilia Topuria, but this guy was supposed to be the greatest fighter of all time, potentially the greatest fighter of all time, and now he's just a guy that fought in the wrong weight division, like Conor McGregor did, right? So that is number 10. At number 9, Petr Yan. What are his weaknesses right now? He's 33 years old, so his prime is probably very short. He probably has like a year left, maybe 2 years left in his prime. Held down for a while. We saw in the Sterling fight. We saw in the Merab 1 fight. He's a slow starter. His lack of power, right? Hasn't knocked anyone down really since 2022. I believe Corey Sandhagen. When was the last time he knocked somebody down? Weaknesses, when he's washed, right? 2-3 years later, he uses his athleticism a lot in his takedown defense, right? We see him do cartwheels out of it. We see him flip out of it. We see him Granby roll out of it. Use athleticism a lot to get out of takedowns. And that'll be a huge factor for him when he gets older, because the athleticism wanes, right? It goes down. He's a slow starter, still be slow starter when he's washed. He's pillow-handed. He already lacks power. Held down for rounds, right? We saw in the Sterling fight. He should be held down for a long time because, again, the athleticism will wane down. Who are his future opponents? I believe as champion, he'll fight Merab Dvalishvili in this year to end this year, 2026. And then he'll lose his belt to Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley will probably sit on his title shot, sit on his title shot and fight Petr Yan. That makes the most sense in the summer. Then Mario Bautista, he'll have a bounce back fight, beat him. Then he'll fight Umar Nurmagomedov for the belt again, right? Give Umar Nurmagomedov a good, formidable opponent in the 2-time champion Petr Yan. He'll lose to him and then fight Payton Talbot, Song Yadong, and Renat Kovalov, who's a PFL guy, but he's very young, very, very good prospect. Those will be his next fights. He'll be on a 4-fight losing streak. But before you know it, this guy went from title challenger versus Umar Nurmagomedov to losing 3 straight fights. And then that's what happened in this downfall videos. Next, Dricus Du Plessis. He's in his prime right now, right? He just beat Kamaru Usman in a great fight where he dominated 50-45, I believe. He's 32 years old. What are his weaknesses right now? He gets held down for a while. We saw in the Khamzat fight. His grappling is not good, right? Especially when he's on bottom. He has good submission game when he's offensive, but on bottom, his guard is non-existent. Unorthodox striking. Unorthodox striking means that he leaves a lot of openings. I know he beats Sean Strickland, who's one of the best strikers in MMA today, but Dricus Du Plessis is so awkward that it gives Sean Strickland fits. When the athleticism wanes, when the speed goes down, we saw Tony Ferguson, who's very unorthodox himself. He gets clipped a lot. We see it with a lot of unorthodox strikers. So Dricus Du Plessis, when he's older, he's going to get clipped a lot. And we saw him get clipped versus Derek Brunson. The chin held up. His durability was good. But when he goes up to 205, will the durability still be the same? He's going to be held down for rounds there because he talked about him going up to 205 already. He says, I want to go be a light heavyweight. But is he going to be a Robert Whittaker light heavyweight? Probably so. He's not the tallest guy for light heavyweight. He's like 6'2". And all those guys are like 6'4", 6'5" behemoths. So Dricus Du Plessis moving up might be detrimental to his career and helpful for his downfall. So the lack of power and strength at 205 will be obvious, I believe, and the zero wrestling ability will stay. So let's see who his future opponents is. I believe he beats Brendan Allen. I don't think he challenges for the title just yet, but I think he beats Brendan Allen for a number one contenders fight. And then he beats Sean Strickland in the trilogy to regain his championship belt. But then he'll lose to Nasruddin Imavov because I think Imavov is a better striker, better, quicker hands, good wrestling. Like, he's a very, very good mixed martial artist. He should be able to beat Dricus Du Plessis. But I think Dricus Du Plessis will leave the middleweight division, go up to light heavyweight and fight Bogdan Guskov, beat him, and to get an immediate title shot after that. Give him Magomed Ankalaev, who should be able to beat Carlos Ulberg, I think, if they ever fight. So Magomed Ankalaev versus Dricus Du Plessis is the next bout. I think Dricus Du Plessis loses to him, and he loses to Navajo Sterling afterwards, and then finishes his career losing to Abdul Rahman Yakayev, who's 25 years old right now, while Dricus in 2031 will be 37. So a 37-year-old versus a 30-year-old, 37-year-old that was in a bunch of fights versus a 30-year-old that's been knocking out people in the first round. I'm going to take the 30-year-old who is more athletic, more primed in his career than the 37-year-old withered former champion. So Dricus Du Plessis, 3-fight losing streak, still has a great career though. I mean, becomes champion afterwards, but will lose 3 straight. And then you were wondering, damn, he was good, but he lost the last 3. He lost to Navajo Sterling. He lost to Abdul Rahman Yakayev. That's what happens in this career. That's what happens in MMA. Next, Joshua Van. I know he's only 24 years old, but what are his weaknesses right now? It's his durability. He's been getting hurt a lot. Versus Edgar Chairez, he gets hurt, gets knocked out by Charles Johnson, He gets hurt by Brandon Royval. His durability is already an issue at 24 years old. He's a quick twitch guy. He's athletic. He's in his prime of his career. His wrestling has always been an issue. Right, we see him get taken down by Tatsuro Taira. We've seen him get taken down multiple times, but he's been able to get back up right now using athleticism and using his strength. As he's a good fighter, Joshua Van. I think his downfall will be kind of like Max Holloway's downfall, right, where he was the champion for a while and then he becomes contender and just stays at contender for a long, long time, right? But I still think he's the face of the flyweight because he's a very exciting fighter. So that's why I think Joshua Van's going to happen to him. Like we saw Max Holloway, even though Volkanovski was the champion at featherweight and beat him, Max was still the face of featherweight. We saw him get championship fight after championship fight after championship fight. And I think that's what's going to happen with Joshua Van. So his glass chin will be when he's washed, right? Maybe 5, 6, 7 years later, his chin will be bad at flyweight, and that's no good. His wrestling will always be an issue for him because he's not a wrestler. He started wrestling, grappling when he was like 18 years old, 19 years old. He has short reach. We still will have it. Grappling defense will be an issue. A lot of fighters already go to mount on him, taking his back at 24. It won't get better when he's older, right? Yeah. What are his future opponents? I think he beats Pantoja. He's going to fight Pantoja soon. I think he beats Pantoja. I think Pantoja is a little bit older, injured, right? I think Joshua Van has the good enough right now takedown defense to be able to hold, to get Pantoja away from the clinch defense as well. Joshua Van has good power. Pantoja likes to not move his head off the center line. I think it's a good matchup for Joshua Van. He should beat Pantoja. Then I think he loses to Manel Kape. And I think he loses a rematch to Manel Kape because Joshua Van versus Manel Kape will be a great fight. Right? 2 strikers going at it. Joshua Van likes to be in the pocket. Manel Kape likes to snipe, and it'll be a very, very good fight. Then you do the rematch with Manel Kape. I think he loses that as well. Bounce back fight versus Loner Kavanaugh. He should be able to beat Loner Kavanaugh. Better power puncher, better boxer, I believe. Loner Kavanaugh is small, so it really doesn't affect Joshua Van's short reach. That's a great fight between those two guys. Then you have him fight for the belt versus Tatsuro Taira, who I believe will beat Manel Kape because Manel Kape, we've seen him get taken down by Pantoja. He's been taken down before versus Nicolau. So I think Tatsuro Taira does have a good style to beat Manel Kape and take the belt from Manel Kape, who will be older at the time as well. And then Joshua Van, after beating Loner Kavanaugh, loses to Tatsuro Taira in their second fight. And then he has another bounce back fight versus Asu Amabayev. Then he beats Asim Abayev. Then he fights Tatsuro Taira for the trilogy. And I think Tatsuro Taira still wins that fight. Ramazan Tamirov is his last fight after that. And it's not really a downfall because he has so many high-level opponents. But for Joshua Van, it goes from champion to contender, and I think that's what's going to happen to him. Next, Jamahal Hill. The downfall has already happened for Jamahal Hill, right? He's going to get cut soon. That's what I believe. Dedication is his weakness. Lack of footwork, durability. That's all his weakness right now. The weakness is when he's washed. He's going to be a fat heavyweight. He's not going to be in shape. He's a light heavyweight. He is a light heavyweight, but he's out of shape. He's a paycheck collector, right? This guy's gonna be fighting for money only. He doesn't want to fight for legacy. He doesn't want to fight to become the best anymore. He just wants to fight. Hey, does that say 100K right there? Boom, 100K right there. Let's go to the bank. That's what Jamahal Hill is gonna do. Wide striking. It's already his issue already. Doesn't use the jab a lot. Likes to throw a lot of overhands, a lot of hooks. Zero footwork. He's still gonna have zero footwork like he has already. At a glass chin, we've seen him already get tested by Khalil Roundtree. He got dropped. He got hurt. He got knocked out by Alex Pereira, knocked out by Jiri Prochazka in the third round, and then wasn't willing to engage with Khalil Roundtree and still got dropped in that fight. So his future opponents and former opponents, right? He's already on a 3-fight losing streak. First Pereira, first Prochazka, first Roundtree, which I mentioned already. I think he loses to Waldo Cortez Acosta later on this year. Cortez Acosta fights soon, but he's an active fighter who will be fighting again by the end of the year. Then you have him fight Anthony Leija and then Ryan Spann. And then the UFC cuts him. He's 35 years old. There's really no place for Jamahal Hill in the UFC anymore, especially if he's not going to take care of his weight and be dedicated to the craft. So let's take Jamahal Hill out of here. Number 5, Khamzat Chimaev. I know what you're going to say. How is he going to? He's so good. He's one of the best fighters of all time. I agree. He's that good, Khamzat Chimaev. But he's 32 years old. That's an issue. This guy, remember, he was fighting Gilbert Burns in like 2020, 2021. And we're like, he's fighting for the championship belt. And he gets his first championship title fight at middleweight in 2025. So he's been effing off a lot, right? The dedication is definitely his weakness. Basic striking. He doesn't have a great strike. It's just a lot of 1-2s, a lot of 1 uppercuts. Like, it's just all basic, not a lot of combinations. Cardio, obviously, we saw in the Sean Strickland fight. We saw in the Gilbert Burns fight. The inactivity and dedication, I believe I already put dedication twice, but inactivity, fights once a year. That's a big issue. What are his weaknesses when he's older? Too small for 205. He's saying he wants to move up to 205 already. After losing the belt to Strickland, he said, I don't want to make 185 anymore. He had a brutal weight cut. He's going to move up to 205. He's way too small for 205. Way too small. The cardio, the lack of power, right? Not really a heavy puncher already. Doesn't really rock anybody. Wrestling specialist. So he won't really evolve, right? He'll just go for the takedown. If the takedown happens, he gets the takedown. If it doesn't happen, he's tired, pulls guard. We saw it for Sean Strickland already. What's next for him? I think he fights Jiri Prochazka in spring 2027. That fight makes a lot of sense to me because Jiri Prochazka, former champion, Khamzat Chimaev off a loss, have him have like a number 1 title contendership fight. Khamzat Chimaev should beat Jiri Prochazka because Jiri Prochazka is not the biggest light heavyweight. He's been talking about moving down to middleweight. So have him fight Jiri Prochazka, a big name in the light heavyweight division, the 205 division. Have him fight him. He should be able to beat Jiri Prochazka, who has a grappling deficiency already and a wrestling deficiency. We saw him versus Glover Teixeira. Then he fights for the belt. He fights Magomed Ankalaev. Russian versus Russian. If he wants to fight for the belt, he has to fight Magomed Ankalaev, who I believe should be able to beat Carlos Ulberg. I think he's better. Magomed Ankalaev versus Khamzat Chimaev. I think he'll lose because Ankalaev is just way too freaking big. So he should be able to lose that fight. Then he'll fight Navajo Sterling. And then I think Josh Hoke is going to move down from heavyweight to light heavyweight once Gable Steveson, his teammate, moves up in weight and moves up in the rankings and becomes a contender. So I think Josh Hoke should be able to move down and trouble Khamzat Chimaev, Josh Hoke has great wrestling, good cardio, and really trouble Khamzat Chimaev, who used to be a former 170-pounder, now moving up 35 pounds to be a light heavyweight. So I'll take Josh Hoke to win it. But again, 3-fight losing streak for a guy that we didn't think was ever going to lose and be one of the best fighters of all time. Khamzat Chimaev, I mean, sad to see. This guy fights once a year and how good he is, but this is what happens. Number 4, Carlos Ulberg. I think his prime is right now. He's 35 years old. I think he's going to be short the prime, right? I don't think he's going to be winning a lot. His cardio is already a problem, I believe. We've seen him get tired in the Kennedy Nzechukwu fight. We've seen him get tired in 3-round fights. He's a nail always, right? He'll always be a nail. The guy never goes forward. He's always either 50-50 or he's on his back foot, and that's a problem, especially when you get older, because you're using the timing, you're using your counterpunching, stuff like that. It dissolves when you get older. The one-trick pony, he's a check hook merchant, right? He's check hook, check hook, check hook, check hook. We see it all the time. We did it versus Jiri Prochazka, won the belt off of it. The lack of grappling, I think that'll be a big factor for Carlos Ulberg as well. What are his weaknesses when he's washed, when he's older, 2-3 years older? The awful cardio, always being on the back foot, the same way we saw Tyron Woodley be, right? Who just is natural habitat is just being on the back foot. That's not what we want from Carlos Ulberg, but that's probably what's going to happen to Carlos Ulberg. He's still going to be a one-trick pony, and his grappling becomes basically mute at this point, and he becomes really, really bad at grappling. So I believe this is going to happen in Carlos Ulberg. He's 35 years old right now. I think he loses to Ankalaev. I think he beats Khamzat Chimaev, which I did not put in the Khamzat Chimaev thing, but I think he beats Khamzat Chimaev, right, which also predicates into his downfall. I think he loses to Magomed Ankalaev in the second fight. I think he beats Ilia Baranowski, who is a Polish hammer. Then I think he loses to Abdul Rahman Yakayev, who's a very, very good fighter from, Turkey. Rasul Magomedov, who's a PFL guy, I think he loses to him as well. And I think he loses to Muhammad Saidov in 2031 in winter, right? He'll be 5 years old. He'll be 40 years old at the time. He won't be the same fighter. He'll definitely be old. But there it is. Next, Max Holloway. And he's coming off an ACL tear for Carlos Ulberg as well. Max Holloway. What are his weaknesses now, right? He's 35 years old. He's 34 right now, but his next fight will be 35. He's an awful wrestler, right? We saw it versus Charles Oliveira. He's too small for 155 because these guys get into the hips and be able to take him down way too easily. He's a pillow puncher. That's just the truth. I know he knocked out Justin Gaethje. I know he knocked out Korean Zombie, but Max Holloway is a pitter-patter. That's what he is, okay? He's held down for rounds. We saw it versus the Charles Oliveira fight. That's brutal. But what his weakness is when he's washed, when he's older? Zero power, held down for fights, right? Held down just the entire fight, 25 minutes of being held down, zero wrestling defense and durability. Who is going to be his opponents? Mauricio Hoofi, I think, is the next opponent. He should beat Mauricio Hoofi. Then I think he'll lose to Arman Sarukian. Then I think he fights Usman Nurmagomedov in 2028, right, from the PFL, who I think is a very, very good fighter. Then he fights Killen Salkild in 2029 spring. Now he's thinking about retirement. Then he fights Nurul Aliev, who is a big, big wrestling advantage over him. Max Holloway's probably thinking, UFC, you're trying to hold me. Why you give me Nurul Aliev? And they're like, yep, sorry. Nurul Aliev is the guy. Then for his retirement fight, probably do him versus Charles Oliveira in Vegas. That makes a lot of sense. Maybe both these guys on a retirement fight in 2029. That makes a lot of sense to me. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira 3. Then he'll be on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight losing streak for Max Holloway. He's already a 50-50 kind of fighter already in his prime, which is right now. So, yeah. Next, Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, I believe, what is his weaknesses? Leg kicks, takedown defense, submission defense. I believe that's his big issue right now. What are his weaknesses when he's older? I think he'll move up to 145, right? He's kind of tall for the 135 division. I don't know if he wants to do that weight cut when he's older. He's 32 years old right now. He gets held down for a while. Zero takedown defense, zero submission defense, dedication. Will he be dedicated to fighting still? Or he has a lot of stuff going on, right? The brand deals. He's a big face. The YouTubes, the podcast. He has a lot of stuff going on already with him. Is he still dedicated to fighting? We don't know yet. Okay. So then now his future opponents. I think he beats Petr Yan and becomes champion again. But I also think he loses to Umar Nurmagomedov. Then I believe he moves up. He beats Kevin Vallejos. Then he fights Gene Silva, who I think is going to be champion at featherweight at 145. And he goes to losing from Gene Silva. He loses to Movsar Evloev, then Aaron Pico, then Luke Riley. And then he finishes his career on a 4-fight losing streak where he's 30. It's 2030. He'll be 36 years old, where people are like, damn, Sean O'Malley's not that same fighter with that quick twitch, good fighter, fight IQ ability, right? He's getting taken down a lot. We're going to see that in the Aaron Pico fight, right? We're going to see that Movsar Evloev fight. And then they'll give him a fun striking match versus Luke Riley, who Luke Riley is a big 145er. Should be able to hurt O'Malley, and who's a lot slower than he is now, right? Because he's older at 36 years old. And I think that Luke Riley should be able to beat him. So that is what Sean O'Malley is. Next, Jiri Prochazka. That was number 2. I don't know why I put number 1 there. Yeah, number 2, Sean O'Malley. Number 1, Jiri Prochazka. I think right now is the start of his downfall. Awful striking defense, grappling defense, and durability. That is his weaknesses. I think what his weaknesses can be is glass chin, right? Lack of speed, lack of athleticism, zero grappling defense, and Beneil Dariush. I think like one-punch KOs like against this guy. But Jiri Prochazka, I mean, he's been in so many wars, like Dominic Reyes fight, Glover Teixeira fight, this guy, the Alex Pereira first fight. Like he's been in a lot of like battles. Khalil Roundtree, Rakic. So he's been in a lot of battles. I think that his chin will be gone, like Chuck Liddell, gone like Beneil Dariush. So that's basically it. His future opponents, Paulo Costa, I think he should be able to beat him by the end of this year. Paulo Costa is a little bit smaller, and I think Jiri Prochazka. Paulo Costa's not really heavy-handed either. So I think Jiri Prochazka should be able to beat Paulo Costa. I think he loses to Khamzat Chimaev, right? They'll do Khamzat versus him. He'll lose to Khamzat Chimaev. Then he loses to Mohamed Saidov, loses to Joe Pyfer. You go down to 185, I believe, and then fight Joe Pyfer. Lose to Joe Pyfer. Then he'll go back up, fight Gregory Rodriguez, who'll be moving up to 205 because he's a big middleweight. I think that fight will happen. Then loses to Abdul Rahman Yakayev, who's a big prospect that I was talking about as a light heavyweight, 25 years old only. He'll be 28 at the time in 2026 or 27 at the time in 2026 or 2028. Excuse me. Magomed Tuchalov, who's a good prospect also from Russia. I think he should be able to beat Jiri Prochazka. And Prochazka will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights of his 7 who will lose. And that's the start of his downfall from being champion to contender to now being Beneil Dariush. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. 26 minutes. See you guys. Thank you. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.